Coming up on this episode of One-on-One Sports.
We debate which troubled NFL prospect we'd take a risk on, who should coach Team USA basketball, and whether the Heat or the Blackhawks are on a more impressive streak.
Plus, we hand out regular season awards in college basketball and look ahead to the top prospects entering the NFL draft.
All that and more, and it all starts right now.
Hello and welcome to Studio B on the campus of Elon University. This is One-on-One Sports. I'm Joe DiRienzo.
And I'm Curt Lestan. We have a great show for you today, so let's kick things off with the starting five.
The NFL Combine gives teams a chance to not only scout the physical abilities of players, but also allows them to interview draft candidates and learn more about them as people. But a line may have been crossed this year, as Colorado tight end Nick Casa said he was asked a series of questions about his sexual orientation. It is against federal, state, and local law to discriminate against potential employees due to matters like this. So, Curt, is it any team's business to ask questions about sexual orientation?
Joe, unfortunately, the truth here, the answer is yes. Unfortunately, listen, I don't condone it. I don't think it should matter either way, but you know what? For an NFL team, it does matter because that is a locker room that is not
What gives them the right to separate themselves from the rest of the world?
I will tell you right now, because in that locker room, it's very much a not progressive locker room, okay? It is a place where there are homophobic people throughout the NFL in locker rooms. So,
just because there are people that exist that are homophobic doesn't mean they have the right to not be with the rest of society.
But what you should know is that when you bring someone into your locker room who may be gay, if that's going to cause a hurricane and a whirlwind in the locker room, you don't want to have to deal with that. You're paying them a lot of money. You should know.
We have been going through all of these off-the-field issues in sports, and they need to be not separated from the real world. This is one big job interview process. This is one big job interview, and if in the real world you can't ask questions like this, then in football you can't ask questions like this.
I agree.
I understand that it could cause issues, but you can't separate it from the reality.
Fine. There are two high-profile prospects heading into the NFL draft who have red flags associated with their name. Manti, Teo'o, and Tyrann have both hurt their draft stock due to off-the-field issues. Joe, which of these prospects is worth taking the risk on?
Now, TeoMathieu is the easy pick here because he is an issue that people have dealt with before in the NFL. But I'm going with Manti Teo'o because his ceiling is far, far and away higher than Tyrann. Manti Teo'o has he had a slow 40 in the combine.
And he couldn't keep up with Alabama in the national championship.
One game. In his entire career, he has shown that he is good at coverage. He is a solid tackler. You're talking about one game. I'm talking about a career of college football.
But that's the closest thing he's going to see to real competition in the NFL. And he failed in that stage. I had to go with Tyrann was the guy that I want to take the risk on. You know why?
Why?
All that Tyrann did is he got in trouble with drugs. Okay, you know who else did that? Aaron Hernandez, and he fell in the draft. But how's he doing for the Patriots? Pretty darn well.
He's got a great skill set. Tyrann, best case is a nickelback. He's terrible in coverage.
But
NFL wide receivers will burn him.
That's not why you're drafting him. You're drafting him because
yes, it is. If you want a corner.
No, that's not why. You're drafting him because he's a dynamic returner and he can do things on special teams. That's why you're drafting him. I don't want anything to do with Teo'o because of what could happen in the locker room.
Wrong pick. Mike Krzyzewski announced he will be stepping down as the head coach of USA National Basketball after a 7-year run as head coach, leading the squad to Olympic gold in both Beijing and London and FIBA gold in 2010. Curt, who's going to replace Coach K for this team?
You know what? It's going to be hard shoes to fill, that's for sure. But you know
it's
what?
A tough pick.
If I had to pick right now, I got to go with Doc Rivers. Because Doc Rivers, now listen, I would have loved to have picked a college coach, but there weren't any out there that really have the pedigree of a Doc Rivers. He's someone that is rare in professional basketball where players respect Doc Rivers. Not a lot of coaches have that respect. He has it.
Yeah, I think that's something really important for this team with the amount of star power on it. I'm going to go with Greg Popovich, guy who's had experience coaching international players, 16 straight seasons in the NBA with an over 60% win percentage. Guy's got the success, repertoire with these international players, playing the international game, and the star power on his team. He could deal with the situation on the team.
I think they're both good picks. I don't think you really go wrong with either. I think any of those guys would be a good fit for Team USA.
Big shoes to fill, though.
Hey, no one's doubting that for sure. The Catholic Seven, as they're being called, are not only making their own conference and separating from the Big East, they're doing it with fat wallets and a recognizable brand. They will take with them their old name, a new cable deal from Fox Sports, and a few other basketball powerhouses, including the likes of, Butler and Xavier. Joe, What are your expectations for this conference?
This is the first conference alignment thing that I'm actually excited about.
Yeah.
Because these are teams that we're so used to seeing make those runs in the tournament. We're excited to follow the Georgetowns, the Butlers, the Xaviers, even maybe the Creightons if they decide to join.
Would be interesting.
And I'm really interested to see the rivalry that forms between the powerhouses of the ACC with the Dukes and the UNCs and the Kansases that are going to be joining there, and these smaller schools that are basketball-oriented and focused. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. I think the rivalries could be awesome with this. And
Yeah.
something that I'm looking forward to is having a conference that is simply a basketball powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any money going into football to really throw off the balancing scale. This conference is all about basketball, and it's going to be so much fun to watch. This is what the Big East should be.
Absolutely. It might be a little David versus Goliath situation here with these two conferences.
We'll see what happens, right?
The Miami Heat are, no pun intended, the hottest team in basketball, currently on a 15-game winning streak as of this moment. Meanwhile, the Chicago Blackhawks have won a point in each of the first 22 games of their season, soaring above the rest of the NBA. Pun intended that time. So, Curt, which streak is more impressive?
Oh, you're all about the puns today. I love it. But listen, I got to go with the Chicago Blackhawks, and this is why. You look at the Miami Heat, they are clearly hands down the best team in the Eastern Conference. They have LeBron James, who may be the best player of all time. You look at the Chicago Blackhawks, they have a goalie in Corey Crawford who struggled last season, and now...
It's a huge turnaround for him.
Oh my goodness, he's one of the best goalies in all of NHL right now. And for this team, who had such issues on the defensive side of the puck, to be going this well, that's more impressive.
I'm not going to say their streak isn't impressive, but they're doing it at the beginning of the year. It's bad timing for them, in my opinion.
But it was also a 48-game season. You didn't have much time to
It is shorter,
gel.
and it's a little bit different, but the fact that the Heat are doing this after the All-Star break in the second half of the season, building up that momentum to get to the playoffs, that's what makes this one more impressive for me, because it's going to have the momentum going into the playoffs for them, hopefully.
Listen, they're both certainly impressive for sure, and I don't think anyone's going to stop either of these two teams.
Yeah, great streaks. We have to take our first break, but coming up next, we head to Alumni Gym to take a look at the upcoming Southern Conference Tournament in men's basketball. Stay tuned.